The only three things you need to make your 9 to 9 optional. Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9 to 5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising. These are the only three things that you need to make your 9 to 9 optional. Yes, I'm making it a declarative statement. You're wondering, why can I say that? Because believe it or not, surprise, surprise, I've lived it. And so what I really want to share with you today, because this is something that happens for so many people. You are constantly looking to realize, how can you not continue to enjoy what you do at your day job, and there's something burning in your gut that tells you want to be doing something else. You don't know where to start. You don't know who to ask. That's why you keep coming back. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the time that I have for this episode to pour into you, to share with you the only three things you need to make your 9 to 9 optional. Meaning that you continue to go in because you want to go in, not because you feel like you have to be dragged in every single day. It's a mindset thing. It's a switch. It's a lifestyle thing. And the reason I know is because as I now start to reflect back on what my journey was, those 10 years that I spent, or better yet, invested, right? Because now I'm on the other side of it, that I invested, those 10 years that I invested to be able to have the control over my time and the option to say, yes, corporate life continues to be for me, or no, it is not. That's what I want to share with you, right? And I'm going to share it in a way that by the end of this very brief conversation, you're going to know the only three things you need to make your 9 to 9 optional. Because as I realize it now, I was going through the motions, and I even had a paid coach, right, at the time. And there was a part of the story that I had, but I hadn't broken through to the other side. So now I've got a new perspective, and it's one that I want to share with you, because in the same way that I was able to go 10 years, I want to be able to help you to do it in much less time than that. And more importantly, less time than you think it's going to take you to get there. All right. So I'm looking back on this with the perspective of, I've already gone through it. There's some things that changed and I needed to add also too, because, well, life changes and I have a different perspective. I'm not in the throes of it. Today, you've maybe just got that burning sensation in your gut and you're like, I need to do something. I need to figure out what the path is. I don't really know what it is today. Well, those 5 surefire signs that you need a profitable side hustle. If you need some help getting clear on that, go to episode 437. It's going to help you out. Let me not digress. Let me stay on track. The thing that really got me started wanting to build this side business was a conversation that I had a long time ago. But what it did is it fueled the fire for me to want to continue to go out and make more money, because I wanted to make more money, because I thought that that was the way that I was being the best provider for my family. I was being able to do all the things that we wanted to do without having to think about it, without having to go and look and see if we move money from here to there to be able to afford the things that we wanted to do. And at the same time, if anyone would have asked me, like, I would have really told them, said, look, the thing that I really, really yearn for more than anything else is I just want control over my calendar. I don't want to have to ask my boss if I can be away. I don't want to have to pretend to hide somewhere because I'm doing something that someone else perceives as not the right thing. But you know what? The whole thing is after 26 years of corporate, I realized, like, I was going through corporate, then I was enjoying it. I liked it so much that I even put on my LinkedIn that I was the happy corporate employee. Like, that was literally what I had on my LinkedIn. Like, check it out. And if we're not connected there, connect there. Let me know you're listening to the podcast. Get a couple of people that are doing that every week, which I really, really appreciate it. So 26 years in corporate life, and I had a good time. I had a lot of fun, and I enjoyed my job. I know you enjoy your role, but maybe you're suffering a little bit like I started to suffer, because I realized after the fact that I was things got out of whack. Like, I didn't need to do 200% of my time to get 250% of my quota. I could have done 100% of what was needed to do to get 180%. Because after all was said and done, and the amount of money that was actually coming into my home, the amount of money that I was keeping, not making, there's a difference there. I look back and I ask the question, was it really worth it? The extra time? Because the thing that you can never, ever get back is the time. Right. And so when I think about that whole period, I think about that conversation that I had back in 2008. These are the different elements that helped me realize that there literally are only three things that I needed. I was running all over the place. I thought that it needed to be this thing, and I would listen to what person X would say, and then I would listen to what person Y would say, and then I'd go back and double check it with person A, B, and C. And the thing is, because it was a new place, I felt like I had to keep asking every single person rather than finding a person that has been on the path that I wanted to go down and actually follow their path or something similar, right? To create the north, like the true north for me. That's what I looking back on it is to pick a path, have a direction, and then move that way. But there's three elements that were actually needed to be able to do that. Because after having had that conversation that I mentioned before in 2008 and realizing that this boss of mine had this amazing plan, and that plan was one that I knew that I could work for me because it was going to start to put money in my pocket every single month and start to get closer to the thing that I wanted by investing in real estate. It started out as an investment, but once I realized that that investment could become a vehicle to build a business, and that business could then help me and my family to be able to live the lifestyle we wanted without depending on corporate when it was time. That was the thing that I was really interested in. So I sat down because I'm a pretty studious person. I decided that, you know what, in order to make this thing really tick, let's just get started with step one. And what was that step one? That step one was to come up with a concrete plan, like just to say, all right, look, over the next 5 years, and actually over my shoulder here, if you're watching the video version, there's the actual book that I took the time to write my SMART goal, right? And when I wrote that SMART goal, which was specific, measurable, achievable, uh, realistic, and time bound, it was the SMART goal that I wrote for myself and realized, like, okay, this was the thing that I want to do. And so I realized that it was about making that SMART goal, which was in 5 years to be able to have a number of doors, which was 10 at the time, and to be able to create 4 figures of net income, right? That was the goal that I was really focused on. And so I thought it was going to take 5 years, but what I thought was going to take 5 years only took 18 months because I had a plan. I started I thought about it for the first 5 years. I just was a theoretical ninja. I just knew all the stuff, but I didn't actually take any action. And it's not until you take action that you can start to move forward, which is what I'm sharing with you. And this is when you realize that, and you then amplify it with having these very specific 3 things that you need. And they're literally the only 3 things that you need to make your 9 to 9 optional. That's what started moving me in the direction. So after that 18 months, I realized that, you know what, I wanted to do so much stuff. But also, too, truth be known, once I started having this desire to do this thing without having a really concrete plan, like I had the goal, the SMART goal that I just shared with you, but it was a matter of then, like, how was I going to make that happen? And so then through a lot of pure mental and physical exhaustion, because I was trying to do everything at work, at home, with the business, and I was all over the place. So like internally, externally, I was like completely conflicted, exhausted, right? But I didn't realize it. You don't realize that until after the fact. But the thing is when I got to that certain point, I wanted to do all of these things, and I got to that place of mental and physical exhaustion because, you know, I didn't really plan to account for all of the specific. I thought I had to keep working harder to make more money. But that's because I didn't have these 3 elements in place. So what I realized was, once I got to the goal, and it only took me a year and a half, but it didn't take me 5 years. It only took me a year and a half. I realized then, looking back, I was like, you know what? How could I have done this even more efficiently? And it really comes down to 3 things, right? The first thing was, I needed to have crystal clarity on what it was I wanted to do and why I wanted to do it. Sounds simple enough, But when you take the time to get clear, that clarity gives you an amazing power to not only to make the decisions, and sometimes they're going to be difficult. Actually, many times they're difficult. Afterwards, then it's taking action. Hello, recovering perfectionist or perfectionists out there that are listening, you have to take action, right? And that whole area of clarity, you're going to get to a point where the clarity, you can even quantify clarity, right? It's one of the things that I really like to push. Nobody talks about clarifying, quantifying clarity. I do. Secondly, one of the reasons that I understood that I could continue to make the business grow was because the company, right? I had my company under control. I understood what needed to happen, how I had to continue to be a good employee, giving positive results, achieving and even overachieving. And then the thing after that was I realized that, like, the third thing was I was able to identify and also begin to really improve on the unique concept that I was using, the vehicle that I was using to actually be able to go out and build this business on the side. Those are the three things. It's super simple. You need to have the clarity, especially for you executive, because you are working at a big company and you need to make sure that the company that you have continues to value you, that continues to understand that you are there to produce a result and you like your job, which is the good part, right? Maybe not feeling valued every single day, all the time, but you like your job. And then lastly, it's about being able to identify your unique concept and making that unique concept work for you. So once you have these three things, the clarity around these three things is your own clarity, your company, and your concept. Those are the things that you need to start to make your 9 to 9 optional, right? Because I also realized that even though it took me that year and a half to get to the first goal, afterwards there was another goal and then another goal. And that's a whole different episode that we can talk about. But more importantly, what it has now given me is the ability to not only identify and understand the corporate executive who likes their job, who's going through this kind of this thought process internally, but also to help you to have a very clear pathway to making your 9 to 9 optional. Not quitting your job. That's not the whole thing, because I stayed in mine because I liked it. I just had control over when it was time to stay out of the corporate world or go back to the corporate world or any of that kind of stuff. It's being able to control the time and be able to invest it with whom you want, when you want, where you want. That's the key. So hopefully these three things, and they're very simple, these three things have given you the clarity that you needed to be able to have a conversation with your family, with your friends. Send today's episode, share it with somebody else. You know they need to hear it, right? This is the season of giving. So go ahead and give. And while you're doing that, guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to be right here. I'm going to be preparing for the next episode. And until then, I want to say thank you very, very much. Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9 to 5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.